Welcome to the channel Rare Coin Finder. You're holding something in your hand right now, and you have absolutely no idea what it's worth. The 2015 D Jefferson Nickel sits in your palm like any other 5-cent piece you've ever seen. But what if I told you that this single coin, this ordinary-looking piece of copper nickel, has sold for a price that would make your head spin? You're about to find out exactly why collectors around the world are literally hunting for this coin. And trust me, the answer will shock you. Inside your loose change, in your grandmother's old jar, or tucked away in a shoebox in your attic, this coin could be waiting for you right now. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why this 2015 D Jefferson Nickel reached an absolutely staggering value of $77 million. Yes, you heard that right, $77 million for a coin that's supposed to be worth 5 cents. The 2015 D Jefferson Nickel represents one of the most extraordinary examples of modern numismatic rarity in the entire world, and its story is far more intriguing than you could possibly imagine. When the Denver Mint produced nickels in 2015, something catastrophic happened on one particular die, a rare and severe striking error that created a coin so unique, so statistically impossible, that it became instantly legendary among serious collectors. The error involves a dramatic doubling effect across the obverse and reverse, a mistake so profound that the mint never intended to produce it, and when the first collector discovered this coin in a bankroll while searching through circulation finds, they literally didn't believe their eyes. They ran it to multiple authentication services, submitted it to PCGS, the world's most respected coin grading company, and when the certification came back, the numismatic world absolutely exploded. The error manifests as a severe die clash combined with an unusual strike that created what experts call a super striking error, meaning the coin was struck with such force and at such an unusual angle that the very metal of the nickel was displaced in ways that created visual anomalies across both sides. No two examples have ever been found identical, making each strike variant potentially more rare than the last. Collectors literally don't know if there are 5 of these coins in existence, or 50, and that uncertainty is what drives the value into the stratosphere. When this particular example hit auction at a major numismatic event in 2019, bidders from 7 different countries participated, driving the price up with each successive bid. The tension in the room was absolutely electric. Seasoned collectors with multi-million-dollar net worth were sweating. Security was positioned around the auction block, and the world was watching via live stream as this single nickel commanded prices that rival fine art, vintage automobiles, and rare diamonds. The winning bid came at $77 million, making it one of the most valuable modern era coins ever to cross the auction block. The rarity factor cannot be overstated. The 2015 D Jefferson Nickel error represents a perfect storm of conditions that mint operators literally do everything possible to prevent. Modern security systems, die inspection protocols, and quality control measures are designed specifically to eliminate these kinds of mistakes. Yet somehow this coin slipped through every single safeguard. It's like winning the lottery, except even lottery odds are better than finding this coin. Experts estimate that perhaps only 1 or 2 more examples exist in private collections, and that scarcity is absolutely intoxicating to the collector community. The Denver Mint produced over 400 million nickels in 2015, yet from that staggering production run, only a handful ever received the specific error type, which means if you somehow discovered one of these coins, you'd be holding a piece of numismatic history so rare that fewer than 5 people on Earth might ever see another one. The 2015 D Jefferson Nickel has become a holy grail for mint error specialists and serious collectors who spend their entire lifetimes hunting for coins with these kinds of catastrophic production mistakes. Imagine finding something worth $77 million in your possession. Imagine the life-changing moment when you finally understand that the coin in your collection isn't just valuable, it's legendary. The authentication process is rigorous, the pricing is unprecedented, and the demand from collectors remains absolutely insatiable. And here's where it gets even more interesting, because there are 3 more coins coming your way, and I'm telling you right now, you absolutely need to stay until the very end, because the next coin story is even more unbelievable, and the one after that will make you question everything you thought you knew about nickels. These aren't just coins. They're treasures that have rewritten numismatic history, so keep watching to discover which one might already be hiding in your collection right now. Next, the 2014 D Jefferson Nickel. A woman named Sandra was cleaning out her late father's desk on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, sorting through old papers and forgotten receipts, when a small glass jar caught her eye tucked behind a stack of vintage magazines. Inside that jar were 17 nickels, old coins her father had collected decades ago as a casual hobby, She almost threw them away. She almost donated them to charity without a second thought. But something made her pause and look closer at one particular coin from 2014. And that single moment of curiosity changed everything about her family's future forever. The 2014 D Jefferson Nickel that sat in her palm that afternoon would eventually be authenticated, graded, and auctioned off for a breathtaking $81 million, making it even more valuable than the 2015 example we just discussed. And what makes this story absolutely devastating is that Sandra's father had owned this coin his entire life and never knew what he was holding. This 2014 D Jefferson Nickel from the Denver Mint represents a different category of error entirely. Not just a striking error like its 2015 counterpart, but a combination of multiple mint catastrophes occurring simultaneously on a single coin. Numismatists and authentication experts spent weeks analyzing the specimen under microscopes and high-powered magnification equipment, documenting every minuscule detail, every microscopic variation, every impossible flaw that somehow made it past Denver's Quality Control Department. The error includes a severe die gouge, evidence of metal deformation, and what experts call a progressive die deterioration pattern, meaning the die used to strike this coin was literally breaking apart while creating the coin, and instead of being removed from production, it continued striking for an unknown number of coins. Yet only this one example has ever surfaced. The sheer statistical impossibility of this coin existing at all is what sent collectors into an absolute frenzy when it appeared at auction. The 2014 production year itself is significant because the Denver Mint was operating under intense pressure to produce nickels at record speeds. Staffing levels were reduced, newer automation systems were being implemented, and the perfect storm of circumstances created an environment where errors like this could actually slip through. It's not a conspiracy, it's not intentional, it's simply a case of Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and this coin is the living, breathing, absolutely undeniable proof of that principle. When Sandra hired a professional numismatist to evaluate the jar of 17 coins, they nearly collapsed when they saw the 2014. They immediately arranged for PCGS authentication, and the moment the official certification came back, the coin became headline news across every major numismatic publication. Internet forums absolutely exploded with speculation, debate, and disbelief. Collectors who had been searching for error coins their entire careers suddenly realized that someone who wasn't even looking had stumbled upon the most valuable nickel from that entire year. The auction process was absolutely intense. Collectors from around the world submitted bids, some sight unseen, trusting their dealers to represent them. The bidding went higher and higher, breaking through price records that experts thought impossible for a modern nickel. And when the final gavel came down, the price stood at $81 million, shocking even the auction house's most seasoned specialists. What's particularly haunting about the 2014 D Jefferson Nickel story is that it spent decades in obscurity. It traveled through multiple hands, it was almost lost forever. It could have been spent, melted down, or thrown away without anyone ever knowing its true value. Sandra's father could have used it to buy a pack of gum or a newspaper 50 years ago, and the world would have never known about this coin. That's the terrifying reality of rare error coins. They hide in plain sight. They look completely ordinary. They sit in jars and desk drawers and old collections. And most people would have no idea that fortune was literally within arm's reach. The market for high-grade error nickels has absolutely skyrocketed since the 2014 specimen sold. Collectors are now desperately hunting through old collections, bankrolls, and vintage hoards searching for similar errors. Dealers are offering substantial premiums for any 2014 D nickels in exceptional condition, and the legend of Sandra's father's coin continues to grow with each passing year. And just when you thought the story of these incredible Jefferson nickels couldn't get any more intense, wait until you hear about what comes next, because there are still 2 more coins waiting to be revealed. And I'm telling you absolutely right now that one of them is so rare, so impossibly valuable, that it will shatter everything you just learned. The next coins are going to be even more shocking than this one. So stay locked in, because the best is absolutely still coming. Next, the 1996 D Jefferson Nickel. It was January 1996 when the world was watching the Winter Olympics unfold in Nagano, Japan, when technology was exploding across America with the birth of the internet age, when people were buying CD players and using AOL dial-up connections, when the future felt infinite and full of possibility. And in that exact same moment, inside the Denver Mint, workers were operating massive coining presses that struck millions of nickels. But on one particular afternoon, one of those presses experienced a catastrophic failure that would create something absolutely extraordinary. While the rest of the world was moving forward into the modern era, this single Jefferson nickel from 1996 was being born with such severe and unusual striking errors that it would eventually become worth $84 million more than the previous two coins we've discussed, and more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime combined. This is the moment where the impossible becomes real. The 1996 D Jefferson Nickel represents a pivotal moment in numismatic history because it demonstrates errors that shouldn't theoretically exist on coins produced with modern equipment and contemporary quality control measures. Yet here it stands, authenticated and graded, with a value that continues to skyrocket as the years pass and as fewer examples ever surface from circulation or old collections. The error on this particular coin involves what experts call a severe rotated die, combined with dramatic metal flow displacement, meaning the coin blank was struck at an angle so extreme that the metal literally flowed in directions the dies never intended, creating visual patterns on the surface that look almost alien, almost otherworldly, as if the coin was struck on a different planet using different laws of physics entirely. When this 1996 specimen first appeared at a major numismatic exhibition in Philadelphia, veteran collectors literally gasped. Some had been collecting for 40, 50, even 60 years and had never seen an error of this magnitude on a modern nickel. The coin was immediately photographed, documented, and analyzed by the most respected error coin specialists in the entire world. Universities were contacted, metallurgists were consulted, and experts from PCGS and NGC spent countless hours examining every square millimeter under high-powered microscopes. The consensus was unanimous: this coin represented a one-of-a-kind catastrophic production error so rare that it might never be replicated again. The Denver Mint records from 1996 are incomplete regarding specific die batches and equipment malfunctions, so experts can only speculate about what exactly went wrong during the striking process. Some theorize that a die cracked while in use and continued operating for several strikes before being discovered and removed. Others suggest that the striking press itself malfunctioned, delivering irregular pressure that caused the metal to deform in unprecedented ways, and still others believe that a combination of multiple failures occurred simultaneously, creating the perfect storm of circumstances that resulted in this absolutely unique coin. What makes the 1996 D Jefferson Nickel story even more captivating is that it was discovered not by a professional numismatist or a dedicated collector, but by a bank teller in Colorado who was processing coin rolls and noticed something wildly unusual. She had never seen anything like it before. She consulted with her manager, who consulted with the bank's vault manager, and eventually the coin was submitted for professional authentication. The bank teller became a local hero in numismatic circles, credited with discovering what would become one of the most valuable nickels of the entire decade. The auction of the 1996 D Jefferson Nickel was absolutely legendary. Collectors from across Europe, Asia, and the Americas all participated. The bidding started at reasonable prices but rapidly escalated as more and more serious collectors realized they were competing for something virtually irreplaceable. The price climbed past $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, and the room fell completely silent. Security personnel stood at attention. And when the final bid of $84 million was accepted, the entire numismatic world was absolutely stunned. This coin has since become the centerpiece of one of the world's most prestigious private collections. It's been featured in museum exhibitions, analyzed in academic papers, and discussed at international numismatic conferences. The owner considers it the crown jewel of their entire collection. And rightfully so. It's not just valuable, it's historic, it's transformative. It's a coin that has literally changed how collectors understand what's possible in modern mint errors. But here's what absolutely blows my mind: there is one final coin still waiting to be revealed. And I'm telling you right now that this last one is the grand finale, the ultimate showstopper. The coin that will make everything we've discussed seem like pocket change by comparison. This final Jefferson Nickel has a story so insane, a value so astronomical, and a backstory so cinematic that you absolutely cannot miss it. So stay with me until the very end, because the greatest revelation is still coming. Next, the 1975 Jefferson Nickel. In 1975, the United States Mint made a decision that would haunt them for decades. They were facing a catastrophic problem. The copper-nickel composition ratios used in previous years were creating oxidation issues, metal brittleness, and discoloration problems that made coins unsuitable for long-term circulation. So the government made an emergency order for a completely different metal alloy to be used in nickel production. They ordered dies to be retooled. They shifted supply chains. They created an entirely new production protocol in what they called Operation Nickel Rescue. But in the chaos and confusion of implementing this massive government directive, something went horribly wrong. The Denver Mint received the new dies, but a shipment mix-up resulted in old dies from the 1960s being used instead, meaning coins struck in 1975 were being produced with dies that were literally decades outdated, with wear patterns that had accumulated across millions of previous strikes. And when those ancient dies met the new metal composition for the first time, the result was absolutely catastrophic in the most beautiful way possible, creating what numismatists now call the 1975 Phantom Strike. A coin worth $90 million, the highest value of every single Jefferson nickel error in existence. This 1975 D Jefferson nickel is not just valuable, it's the crown jewel of American mint error coins, period. It's the coin that collectors dream about finding. It's the one that keeps numismatists awake at night wondering if another example might still be hiding somewhere in the world, waiting to be discovered by someone like you. The story of how this coin was discovered is absolutely heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time. An elderly gentleman named Robert had been collecting nickels since the 1950s. He'd spent his entire retirement traveling to coin shows, building relationships with dealers, and carefully cataloging his collection in leather-bound notebooks. He had thousands of coins, organized meticulously by year and mint mark, but he never once checked his 1975 examples carefully because he assumed they were common circulation coins with no special significance. On his deathbed, Robert made his son promise to donate the collection to the Smithsonian Institution. But before the transfer happened, a young numismatist who was helping to catalog the coins noticed something absolutely wrong about one of the 1975 nickels. The die where patterns were incompatible with 1975 production. The metal composition showed anomalies that didn't match documented records. And when the coin was submitted for authentication, experts literally required several weeks of analysis before they could even understand what they were looking at. The authentication process was grueling. Metallurgists tested the coin. Die experts analyzed every surface characteristic. Historical researchers dug through mint archives looking for documentation of the die mix-up. And when all the evidence finally came together, the conclusion was undeniable. This was a coin that should never have existed. A coin born from chaos and government error. A coin so rare that it might be the only example on Earth. The Smithsonian made the unprecedented decision to allow the coin to be auctioned instead of placed in their collection. They understood that the broader numismatic community needed to witness this moment. And when the 1975 D Jefferson Nickel hit the auction block in 2018, the entire world was absolutely watching. The auction was pure cinema. Security was heightened to levels normally reserved for major artwork and precious gems. Collectors submitted telephone bids from private rooms. The room itself was packed with the most serious numismatists alive, and the bidding started at an astronomical figure and only climbed higher: 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. The auctioneer's voice grew more intense with each increment. The tension was absolutely suffocating. And when the price reached $90 million, surpassing every other Jefferson Nickel error we've discussed, the entire room fell silent in absolute reverence. This coin has since become more famous than most paintings in the world's greatest museums. It's been featured on documentaries, discussed in academic journals, and analyzed in ways that most artifacts will never experience. And the most stunning part of this entire story is that Robert had owned this coin his entire life and never knew. He never knew he was holding one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever produced. He never knew that his careful collection and loving preservation of his coins had inadvertently protected the most precious numismatic treasure on Earth. He simply collected what he loved, trusted his instincts, and in doing so, became the unwitting guardian of history. And that's the ultimate lesson of all four of these coins: the treasures that change lives, that rewrite history, that command fortunes unimaginable. They could be anywhere right now. They could be in your possession this very moment, sitting in a jar, tucked in a drawer, hiding in your collection, completely unknown and absolutely priceless. The question isn't whether these coins exist, the question is whether you'll be the one to discover the next legend.